Coming up on today's episode of DLLS Mavs is Luka Doncic is the most difficult matchup in the league today. Plus, we dial up the Stein line with Marc Stein live in studio for his news and notes on the Mavs and around the association. All that and more on today's episode of DLLS Mavs. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks insider Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Karalla, and our national and Mavericks NBA insider. You can dial up at the Stein line, Marc Stein. We are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys covering your favorite team every single day at Kevin Gray Sports, at Tim_Cato, at Bobby Karalla. So much to get to on today's episode. We dial up the Stein line at 12:30, Mark with his news and notes on the Mavs and around the association. Plus, we dive into more of the NBA GM survey. Is Luka Doncic the most difficult matchup in the league today? And is Jason Kidd the best motivator and manager in the league today? But before we get to any of that, it is a wonderful Wednesday here on DLLS Mavs. Tim, Bobby, Marc Stein, what's going on?
I'm doing well. Are you guys doing well?
I'm in studio.
You are?
2 days in a row in studio.
Have I met Cato standards?
I think so.
We're one sleep away from...
He's so subdued. What's up?
He's exhausted.
Is something wrong?
He's going to be
sleep that
double fisting it with the coffee probably throughout the show today.
I only have one coffee.
I'm saying
you're too young to be tired. Come on.
We're one more sleep away, gentlemen, from watching Klay Thompson play basketball in a Mavs uniform. I just want to throw that out there.
Watching Klay Thompson and Kyrie Irving on the same floor together is going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Even if it's for 5 minutes,
Let's
even if
hope
it doesn't matter at
longer
all.
than that.
A Thursday in October framed as only Bobby Umbrella could. We're one sleep away from watching Klay
One
Thompson.
sleep away from more Mavericks basketball. Looking forward to all of us will be in the house tomorrow night at the American Airlines Center for
Really?
preseason. Yeah, I'll be there as well. Exactly.
Interesting.
My wife's going to let me out the
for the
house.
All
debut.
4 of us.
Yep.
Yeah, the
Interesting.
DLLS Mavs crew is going to represent.
Can the 4 of us coexist in the arena?
I mean, I would hope so
We
because
have
we have to
before.
do it on this show. So hopefully we can do it in the arena as well.
Should
Besides, you're the only
record
one.
from the studio, from the arena.
Do
On
the show
court.
from the arena.
Yeah.
Let us know in the chat. Should we do the show tomorrow from the arena?
They
Let
should
us
put
know.
us on the court and the players have to play around us.
That is a good idea, actually.
Yeah.
We just sit in the middle of the floor.
You want to
doing
make
the show?
preseason basketball interesting? Do that.
Plant us in the middle of the AAC floor while they guys play
Like I said,
basketball.
what I really want to see is Chris Arnold spotting Bobby Karalla and just forcing him to do his pregame.
And then stepping on his
The
foot
old
to
pregame,
end his
and
pregame
stepping
hit.
on. Are you going to ask Chris why he never stepped on your foot?
No, I don't want him to ruin my kicks. You know? He's very clean forces.
I don't know about clean, but, you know, they are forces
By my
nonetheless.
standards, they're super clean, spotless.
Well, we need to work on that standard of cleanliness for you, Bobby. We'll work on that a little bit later on. Is Luka Doncic the most difficult matchup in the league today? Plus, Jason Kidd, is he the best manager and motivator in the league? All kinds of questions being posed in the NBA's GM survey, where all 30 GMs around the association were asked a number of questions, and NBA.com answering several of those and posting those for our chat and for our ability to analyze what those answers are. And a little bit later on in the show as well, our own Bobby Karalla curated our own DLLS Mavs survey as well, so we'll get the results of that. Tim and I haven't seen those results, so we'll be just as surprised as you are when we'll see those results. Mark has not seen them either, so
I was
he
going to
will.
say, why are we excluding Mark?
Yeah,
from
Mark-
this?
Those answers are locked behind the BK and Tanner paywall.
The BK and Tanner paywall.
They've been
Yeah.
locked in a very secure flamingo
Yeah.
themed suitcase.
Yeah.
Look, if you
So
keep
I
calling
did-
for
I
that
didn't think-
suitcase, it's going to show up here.
I
in
knew
the
you wouldn't go
next
looking for
minute.
the answers.
They're going to roll that thing out here so we can unveil the results.
Okay. Well, that we should have those like wheeled in front of you, and then you can open it, and then we can figure out what those results
kick
are.
it.
Of course, you're going to kick the suitcase. Let's jump into the NBA GM survey, and let's start with this one, Tanner, because Luka Doncic, one of the best players in the league today, looking to win his first NBA MVP this year after taking the Mavericks to the finals last year for the first time since 2011. Is he the player that coaches have to make the most adjustments for? Basically, one of the questions that was asked was, do these players force coaches to make adjustments more than any other player? And Luka Doncic came in at number 1 at 33%. Stephen Curry comes in at 30%. Nikola Jokic at 23%. Giannis and Joel Embiid are tied for 7% of that particular vote when it comes to players forcing coaches to make the most adjustments per game. Tim Cato.
I have some quotes, but I was going to let somebody else open this up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll open it up.
Look at y'all passing and sharing the ball. Look at y'all.
I don't know, and this is no slight to Jokic, who I think is the best or second best player in the NBA. I'm not really sure what kind of adjustments you can make against Jokic because he's just bigger and better than everybody. I think that Luka and Steph are really the only answers. I think they're the only viable answers of all the stars in the league because Steph plays a different sport than everybody else. And Luka, in many respects, can play a different sport than anybody else because he's taller than every other point guard. He's stronger than every other point guard. He is a better and more voluminous shooter than pretty much anyone else in the league other than Steph.
Voluminous.
If you double him, he'll pass. If you single him, he'll score. Little guy, post up. Big man, drive past. Wing, he's usually stronger than. He'll just bully those guys. No matter where you send help from, he figures it out. So I really think that it is a Luka and Steph show. And I think because Luka has... I think a few more ways he can beat you than Steph. I think Luka is the correct answer there.
So
Ben Selheim says it's Dwight Powell.
Ooh, that is a good one too. That is a good one
So
too.
here's the thing about Luka. Luka doesn't have a preferred way to play. He just chooses. He will play however you are guarding him. If you're going to trap him, he will pass out of it. If you're going to switch on him, he's going to switch and switch and switch and switch. If you're going to run traditional pick and roll coverage, he is going to feed, his roller, the guy rolling to the rim every single time. He can do every single one of these things. There's a story I really enjoyed reading. It's called "How the NBA Tried and Mostly Failed to Stop Luka Doncic," written by somebody called Tim Cato. But obviously, I came
Tim Cato gassing himself up from his own previous
I
article.
came into an
There's
existence
a story I
along
really
with
enjoyed
DLLS.
reading by a guy named Tim Cato. Unbelievable. 12:08. Mark it down. This show has hit a new low. Go ahead.
I really enjoyed it.
Go ahead. I'm kidding.
So I have some quotes from coaches in here, and this story was I wrote it a year ago, more than a year ago, 2023. So Monty Williams, then the Phoenix Suns coach, he causes a lot of late night film sessions and discussions with staff. Chauncey Billups says he's the toughest cover in the league. You're just not going to stop a guy like that. Darvin Ham, then of the Lakers, says it's a nightmare. We don't have the answers. Stan Van Gundy tells me you're not going to take care of everything. So this is universally, even with the coaches as of a couple years ago, this is who they consider the toughest guard.
In all fairness, a very nice assemblage of quotes from Timothy Cato. And my favorite part of what was on the screen in terms of the voting results and what Tim's getting at there is because Luka is from Europe and because Dirk is from Europe, there is this constant attempt to, they're the same, but they're so not the same.
Sure.
And obviously, Dirk was a revolutionary four-man. Luka, however you want to describe him, has the ball in his hands. But one thing that they very much do share in common, Dirk at his peak was regarded the same way. I remember, just like you talked to all those coaches for your piece, I remember, I can vividly remember Eric Spoelstra in the AAC hallway, a couple years removed from 06, but before the Mavericks had won it all, talking about how Dirk had become a surgeon. It doesn't matter what coverage you throw at him, he has the answer for it. And that is, I think, a great trait that both Dirk and Luka share, is that they see every defense that can be thrown at them. and they pretty much have the answer. And the fact that Luka is at the top of that list now when you poll league GMs, that is a very cool tie and very cool thing he shares in common with old number 41.
I totally agree with that. By the way, Dirk, like by 2011, had seen it all. It just didn't matter what you did. It didn't matter what you did. He would take whatever you gave him, and there was always something to take. That's what happens when you solve defenses. I want to double down a little bit on the Jokic aspect, because with Jokic, he's so big, there's just nothing that you can do. Like, what are you going to send a point guard at him? Like, oh, cool, I guess. There's nothing you can do. But with Luka, you kind of feel like you have to try and find the answer, because he's also bringing the ball up the floor.
Yeah.
And he is going to drive and kick to shooters in ways that Jokic can't, because Jokic isn't really driving. He's just not – he doesn't play with the same pace as Luka. Luka's still pretty fast going downhill. So, like, there's so much more pressure, immediate pressure, constant danger that he is imposing on the defense that you have to figure out in ways that Giannis does. But Giannis doesn't have aspects to his game that Luka does.
He's just brute force.
Yeah, so like Luka is basically like almost a volume shooter like Steph, a terror going downhill like Giannis, an unstoppable passer, scorer combo down low like Jokic. Like, he has aspects of all of these guys.
Yeah.
And LeBron's height. Like, good luck.
And you basically make him a scorer, you make him a passer out of double teams, or you make him a passer inside the arc. You've got to choose one of the three. It's more complicated than that, but he's equally good at all three.
One of my favorite aspects of Luka Doncic is his ability to process information in game. One of the games and one of the things that I remember most, I think it was against the Toronto Raptors when Nick Nurse was still there. And at the end of the game, say, look, we tried boxing one, we tried zone, we tried everything that we could, but he processes information so quickly and makes adjustments in game so well that no matter what kind of defense you throw at him, he's going to find a way to not only make his teammates better, but also be able to make sure he gets his own offense off. And that, to me, is one of the hallmarks for Luka Doncic, is his ability to process information so quickly and be able to make everyone else around him better as he continues to have that kind of dramatic impact on a game.
There's a clip. I don't remember if it's from the 1920 or 2021 season. Forgive me for that. But there is maybe even 21-22. But the Mavs are playing the Raptors at home. Nick Nurse was still the coach. It was the end of the game, and Luka crossed someone over and into a step-back three from the left wing, and it was probably a 31-foot shot. And Nick Nurse is a very expressive guy. And he was, as soon as they let Luka get to the step-back,
he was livid.
He was so pissed off.
Yes.
But also, Luka was 5 steps beyond the three-point line.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, and Nick Nurse is furious about that. And like, I understand on the left wing, Luka wants to take the step back, so you got to sit on the step back. But also, like, he's taking a 30-foot step back. Like, why are you so mad? Like, that is probably the most ideal outcome of this possession for you, is a really deep contested shot late in the clock. And he's still mad because, again, Luka will turn, he'll make chicken salad out, he'll do the us thing.
For sure.
Yeah. Hey, I'm glad you brought up Toronto. That was actually in the story I wrote that. So this was the 22-23 season, and I was writing it towards the end of the season, midway through the season, and the Raptors, the Raptors then under Nick Nurse, they were definitely the team that was most using gimmicky defenses. Stan Van Gundy told me, quote, "I'm surprised we haven't seen more of that against Doncic. What those defenses do is turn your team more into an equal opportunity team." And to that point, Toronto was the only team that held Luka that season to 15 field goals. Like 15 in both games, he shot only 15 times, and that's the fewest number of shots he took in any game. Still, in one of the games, he scored 35 points on 15 shots in the first one. So, yes, you can do all this stuff, and you can confuse and bother him, and other coaches in the story said that, he's the player they most switch defenses against, not the literal switching. They change up their defensive looks against him constantly. He's the player they do that more than anybody else. And I think that, to me, is kind of the essence of this question. Who do you have to play more defensive looks? Who do you have to show more different things to in the NBA? I think that's why he's the rightful number one of this question. Still, it's just not always going to work. It doesn't matter what you do. It's still Luka. He's still going to beat you.
That story you wrote that you really liked reading.
I've really liked reading
That
it.
he really liked reading.
Yeah.
Coming up next here on DLLS Mavs is Jason Kidd, the league's best manager and motivator. And does Luka Doncic have the best IQ of any player in the league today? All that and more coming up here on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
Let's see. We're talking about Empire Today. One of my favorite flooring companies, the only flooring company that you need to know about. Because with Empire Today, you get shop-at-home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. They have a virtual floor designer, and it's a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture, and instantly you can see how that new floor that you're looking at, that you're coveting, that you really want in your life, you're going to see how it looks in your room. Shopping for floors at big box stores can be frustrating. You might talk to someone who was working in plumbing yesterday. Flooring is all Empire Today does. They live and breathe flooring, so you can be confident you're getting honest, upfront advice. And schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details.
Opposing coaches are staying up all night, having nightmares about having to guard Luka Doncic. Sometimes when you stay up all night, you got bags under your eyes, you get bloodshot eyes, and you want to cover those up, and you want to look good while doing it. And hey, opposing coaches,
Woo!
if you need to look sharp the morning after a late night cram session prepping for Luka Doncic, then do I have the shades for you? Shady Rays.
Is this in the NBA dress code?
More than 300,000 people have given a 5-star rating to Shady Rays. Their shades have durable frames, crystal clear optics, and they're the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. I wear Shady Rays all the time if I'm outside. Sometimes if I'm inside and I'm a little light sensitive that day or whatever. And if your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you don't love your new shades, you can exchange them within 30 days. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com, use code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
Is Luka Doncic the player with the most IQ in the NBA today? And is Jason Kidd the league's best manager and motivator? As we continue our review of the NBA GM survey, and coming up in 13 minutes, we dial up the sideline with our National Mavericks NBA insider, Marc Stein. He's got the latest on Dante Exum, Luka Doncic, and more around the association, so you don't want to miss that here on DLLS. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports while you're here as well. As we continue our review, gentlemen, of the NBA GM survey, all 30 GMs were posed a series of questions and provided those responses. And one of the interesting ones we talked about, obviously, with Luka Doncic, and a guy that forces so many adjustments for opposing coaches around the league. Also, who will win the league's MVP this year? Luka Doncic finishing in second in that particular vote. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander voted most likely to win the NBA's MVP this year, with OKC, who's the prohibitive favorite to win the West as well. But one of the interesting ones on the coaching side, which head coach is the best manager and motivator of people? Number 1 came in was Eric Spoelstra. Number 2 was Steve Kerr. Joe Mazzulla and Greg Popovich tied for 3rd, along with Doc Rivers. And 6th was Jason Kidd, who got 7% of the votes. What are your guys' thoughts on the best manager and motivator of people? I don't think it's necessarily a surprise that Eric Spoelstra would be there at number 1, but Jason Kidd does make this list as well, as you can see on the screen.
I mean, he has a relationship with Luka Doncic. You've seen what Kyrie Irving has done here over and over again. I think, honestly, it may be the most telling. When the Mavericks had their catastrophic season 2 years ago and missed the playoffs entirely, the team was pissed and upset, and sometimes there was not enough effort being given from a Luka. But that was about it. The team was trying. Jason Kidd never lost that locker room. That team was not supposed to miss the playoffs. They were especially not supposed to miss the playoffs after Kyrie Irving lost. And, I remember people kept asking, did Jason Kidd lose the locker room? What's the morale like? Does everybody still believe in this person? And, some people were even assuming that this had to be on Jason Kidd. And that was the start of, the same thing that happened in Milwaukee, where he had a first good year. And over again, I heard, locker room still believes in Jason Kidd. As frustrated as a lot of fans were with his coaching, a lot of the decisions he was making during that season, especially down the stretch, he did not lose the locker room. He still had the team playing hard. It's just a really bad team. That team was not good. So I think that really speaks to the fact that clearly Jason Kidd is somebody who relates to players, but not quite as a peer, as a coach who can motivate them and who can get them ready and up for games when he needs to. And I think he's shown that over the past these past 3 years in Dallas.
It feels like a lot of growth for Jason Kidd in this particular area, because when he first got into the league, I don't know if this was something that if you were to ask people around the league if he would be a really good motivator and manager, that would necessarily his name would come up as an answer for this particular question. I think it speaks to the evolution and growth that he's made as a coach, and now how that's continued to pan itself out here in Dallas with the success he's had so far here.
I would frankly have to say that I think the GMs, they had both Joe Mazzulla and Jason Kidd too low in that voting. They are top 3, 4 in terms of getting player response. I don't think there's any question about it. As I always say with Jason Kidd, if you have Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving on your roster, please drop the list for me of who could coach the both of them. It's a very short list.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's 4 names on it. It's like Jason Kidd is the coach for those 2 guys. And the relationships, like Tim said, the relationships he has with both of his stars underline that, exemplify that. And then in Boston, Joe Mazzulla, a coach only in his 2nd year last season, wins the championship under tremendous pressure. Do you hear the way the Boston players talk about Joe Mazzulla? Like, they really buy in to his approach, which is a different one, a quirky one. He coaches, he's very confident in his approach, does it his own way, doesn't care that people seem to take issue with things he says at press conferences and just his quotes in general. So I think both Mazzulla and Kidd, top 3, top 5 at the worst.
I wonder how Mazzulla and Luka would interact in a hypothetical scenario where Mazzulla was coaching Luka. My gut instinct is like that's actually one of the players. That's a coach that Luka might not respond well to.
Headline: Cato says Celtics threat to sign Doncic.
Because it's funny, because one of the coaches I think he would really respond to very well is like Eric Spoelstra. I think Spoelstra throughout the years has shown the ability to manage and coach superstars that I think Luka, if he were to be ever play for Spoelstra, I think he would respond to him very well.
This is more to Stein's point that there's probably only 3 or 4 coaches who could coach both Luka and Kyrie. Kyrie would respond very well to Mazzulla and vice versa. I'm sure about that. I'm not sure Luka would. And I started just kind of going around the league thinking of coaches, and outside of Spoelstra, like maybe it's just Spoelstra and Kidd. Yeah. I'm not sure you're absolutely right. There's not a lot of people who get the most out of both of those.
I mean, I think Ty Lue would also be in the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That might be as far down as my list goes.
Maybe this version of Greg Popovich at this stage in his career, maybe. Could be another name that could get the most out of Luka at this stage, maybe.
There's kind of this I'm going to call it a misconception. It's almost like a stereotype that NBA superstars are just like, you just got to coddle them and all that stuff. Like, there's really no coaching. It's just everyone's trying to be each other's friend. But, in your experience, what makes a coach a good manager of superstars, motivator of superstars?
See,
what goes into that?
I don't know that you can I think every situation is different. Every collection of players is different. So and I think coaches have to in the NBA, what you don't see, and even I think Greg Popovich I think the glory days Spurs would tell you that Pop is much mellower. I mean, Pop made the joke himself at Tony Parker's Hall of Fame induction that I think Pop himself said I couldn't coach guys now like I coached you. So I mean, even someone as accomplished as Greg Popovich with 5 rings on his resume, and Greg Popovich has the respect of everyone. I mean, guys wanted to play on that Olympic team because they wanted the chance to play for him, but even he's had to change. So I think you have to get to know your guys and be somewhat malleable. Tibbs is another one. I think Tibbs has tweaked the way he coaches to some degree in New York compared to previous stops. I do think, I don't know that we can say that there is a constant in terms of an approach that just use template A, B, or C and this will work automatically. But I do just think, like I've said before, and I will always say, talent is the most important thing. You have to have superstar buy-in. If you don't have superstar buy-in, you could be the smartest basketball brain on earth, and it is up to the coach to figure out the best pathway to get that buy-in.
I think that's one of the things that, a team that you've covered previously, what made these Golden State Warriors such a fantastic dynasty was that obviously you had the talent with Steph and Klay and obviously Draymond, but Steve Kerr having to manage all of that for years and years, not just...
And Steve Kerr is fantastic at it. Steve Kerr is one of the all-time best at connecting with players, and something Steve Kerr does really well because he was a reserve throughout his whole career. He really knows how to talk to guys who are getting limited minutes, how to stay ready. So he has a great touch with his superstars, but also he really identifies well with the guys who are on limited minutes because he was in that situation throughout his whole career.
Yeah, I think the best coaches are able to have that kind of buffer between the front office and the team, being able to work with the front office, and that's what makes, I think, the relationship between, Jason Kidd and Nico Harrison unique one, is that they are having mostly on the same page in terms of a vision for this team, but also Jason Kidd understanding what it is to be a player and how to communicate that to Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving to be able to get the most out of them.
Think about it, though. As good as Kerr is at managing stars and personalities all up and down the roster, I mean, look at what happened in the Olympics. Jason Tatum didn't play in 2 games, and so much discussion was, instead of what was happening on the court, was why isn't Jason Tatum playing? And Jason Tatum wasn't shooting the ball well, and he was not even a willing shooter, and that's why he lost minutes. It's not because Steve Kerr had some secret conspiracy against Boston's best player. So, I mean, it's... Even when you're good at it, stuff comes up.
I mean, low-key, if nothing else, he was doing the Boston Celtics a favor by not playing, so he didn't have to extend himself as far as the Olympics experience was concerned. I want to get to this one real quick before we go to break. Which player has the best basketball IQ? Nikola Jokic coming in at 53%. LeBron James coming in at 30% for the Lakers. Luka Doncic is tied with Chris Paul for third at 7%. And Tyrese Halliburton coming in at number 5 at 3% in terms of the player with the best basketball IQ in the NBA today.
Surprising to see Halliburton get a vote. So you can't vote for your own players. So it's not like the Indy GM was like, let me
just throw in a vote for Tyrese here.
Yeah, I mean,
it wasn't super clear. You couldn't vote for yourself or your team. It didn't say you couldn't vote for your player. Not explicitly.
You can't vote for your player.
Yeah, and it says
it doesn't say that.
I'm pretty sure it says that.
I read what it said.
Well, while you two debate.
Anyway, I think maybe you can't vote for your own player. Fine.
Yeah, you can't vote for your own personnel in this one.
Yeah. I don't know. I think LeBron is the only answer. LeBron James.
All right, we get it.
That's the answer.
Okay. No problem with Luka being where he is on that particular list, tied for third.
Was he tied for third
with Chris Paul? Yeah.
He's
that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
It's LeBron and then it's everybody else.
He's
I think.
top 5 in basketball IQ. Like, we're pinching pennies. We're parsing this too much. He is obviously top 3 or 4 in terms of IQ.
In offensive
and what he can
IQ,
do.
I think he's super high.
Right.
I think there's like this leads back. All roads lead back to Luka getting back on defense in transition, right? Like basketball IQ also to me is like it's reflective of your understanding of the moment and what your team needs of you, whatever that means. And on offense, Luka has all the answers. He and Kyrie recognized they needed to dial it up a little bit last year, and it worked.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a big step forward there too. But basketball IQ is not limited to just who's open. Let's find the open shooter.
Yeah.
LeBron James, by the way, just tweeted, "Can someone please explain to me why we're getting on a plane and heading to Milwaukee for one preseason game?"
All right, LeBron James second in basketball IQ. He does not understand how scheduling works.
He's applying that IQ to call out the league schedule makers.
Ooh, is LeBron actually really carbon conscious?
He's telling Adam Silver he needs to fit in, not fit out.
Ooh.
Look at you with the insight there. Coming up next year on DLLS Mavs, we dive into the Stein line. Marc Stein in studio with his latest news and notes on your Dallas Mavericks, including an injury update on Dante Exum as well. All that and more on the DLLS Mavs podcast. But before we get there, I got to call all ball knowers. I got some ball knowers on set with me, and I'm calling all ball knowers out there as well for the Sleeper app. The Sleeper app, as you know, for hosting the best fantasy football leagues in the game, now allows you to put your knowledge to the test in every game by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less in their projected stats each week. Cowboys taking on the Lions on Sunday afternoon. I'm taking Dak Prescott to have more than 200 passing yards. I'm taking CeeDee Lamb to have more than 50 receiving yards to help the Cowboys get their third straight win. So more.
Jahmyr Gibbs. Exponentially more.
No.
Oh, okay.
You just think about the Cowboys' run defense. Is that what you're doing?
Also Montgomery.
David Montgomery. They got a lot of running backs
Both
in
startable.
Detroit. You could probably get more if you start any of the Detroit Lions running backs because, the Cowboys' run defense is poor. It's poor as hell. But anyway, this week, though, make sure you take more when it comes to Dak Prescott and on CeeDee Lamb. If you think you have what it takes with Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win all the way up to 100 times your money. Download the Sleeper app. Use code DLLS Mavs to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in 25 states. Check out Sleeper today.
I love events. I'm going to a soccer game down in Austin this weekend. The U.S. men's national team, Pochettino. It's his debut as coach. And let's say you want to come down, make the drive down 35. Come join me. Might even have an open seat next to me. Check out Game Time. Game Time is the place to get all your tickets for any event that you're looking for. They even have a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier than before. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time! Where were you on that one, Stein?
I wasn't ready.
Well, we are ready to dial up the Stein line here on DLLS Mavs. Our National and Mavericks NBA insider, Marc Stein, live in studio with us. And coming up in our next segment, our DLLS Mavs survey. We had a chance to answer some questions curated by our own Bobby Carella.
Wait, we could do that.
What's
we
that?
could do what time is it? Stein line?
We'll workshop that, Tim.
That would work.
Glad we got the ISO audio for that.
Exactly. Tanner,
I'm
there's your clip for this.
just saying it fits.
It fits what you want there.
And you know what? It's a momentous occasion every time that we call up the Stein line. It's exciting. There should be excitement preceding it.
Mark, you feel good
Sounds
about
like
that?
a segment for somebody to sell.
Ben?
Sponsors.
Ben? There
GM
you go.
Ben.
You're trying to make that money.
GM Ben is in close vicinity to this
Stein line?
set.
Again, don't encourage him to come on this set.
I didn't, but I was just letting you guys know.
You can,
One day he's going to walk on here with a Kevin Gray Personality of the Day award, and you're going to be really happy he walked on the set.
I mean, that's cool and all. I'm just saying, he can hand it to me after the show is what he can do.
One day he's going to walk on our set and take away our microphones.
No, only Tanner has the power to do that. No, I'm just joking. Let's dial up the Stein line here on DLLS Mavs at the Stein line on X, the latest on the Mavericks and around the association. Let's start with someone who's going to be out for quite some time. As Dante Exum, we've got an update on him when it comes to his wrist injury.
Yeah, the team announced today that he's having surgery, and there was the question of would this require surgery? They're not letting it linger. Decision made. He underwent the surgery. Obviously, he's now going to miss a matter of months with an S, but Jason Kidd this week, he did confirm what we reported earlier about this resulted in a very nasty fall in Las Vegas after a dunk attempt. So just a fluky bad luck injury. But, I guess if you have to find a silver lining here, it is in the backcourt where the Mavs have so much depth in the backcourt at this point that they're trying to figure out, is there a way to keep both Brandon Williams and Jazz Gortman, your two ways? Like the depth at backcourt extends all the way to the two-way ranks. So this is why they signed Spencer Dinwiddie. They have 6 guards who are under standard NBA contracts. So if you're going to take a long-term hit at any position, this is the one. That said, just really rough for Dante Exum, who had to deal with an injury during the summer in the
Already
Olympics.
on the final year of his contract as well.
Had to deal with injuries last season when he was just getting established. I mean, injuries have plagued him throughout his decade-long pro career. Early in his time in Utah, of course, he left the NBA, made it all the way back to the NBA which is no easy trick. So you definitely feel for him here because he is going to be out months with an S.
He's someone that we've been talking about on the show. Like, this is his NBA career potentially. And, we hope not. We hope that this doesn't have any effect on it. But to build on what he did last season, to redeem, what's playoff postseason struggles he had, that would have set him up absolutely for another NBA contract and probably one above the minimum.
But I would say I think he's played his way back. I think he's here to stay.
I think so.
He's got size and he's a good two-way guard.
Yeah.
So I think he's back in the NBA. I think that much he's established. But yes, he did not have a great postseason and wanted to bounce back from that. And because of his two-way ability, I think the Mavs did have, maybe big plans is overstating it, but he was in the plans. Even for all the guards who are on the roster, he is in the plans. And, now they're going to have to do without him. Will we see him again in 2024? Is it going to take until 2025 to get him back? We'll have to see.
Right.
And by then, they'll have figured out who's playing well and who's not. They'll have figured out the rotation. And then it's like, well, if they're 30-12, do they even need to work him in? I think the difference for him, maybe he'll be able to stick around in the NBA, but the difference is are you going to be a journeyman on a bunch of minimum deals, a bunch of prove-it deals, or are you going to have your future taken care of for a little bit?
Yeah, maybe it's more fair to say this season was his chance to earn above the minimum.
Yeah.
And even though, yes, I agree he should stick in the NBA, we'll see we'll see what happens this season. Obviously, it's a long ways off, but yeah, that was his chance. This was his chance.
I'm also tired of seeing horrific injuries as a result of dunk attempts. No more dunks for any Mav except for Luka. I need more than 2 Luka dunks this season.
There was a story I read about that I really enjoyed.
Oh my god!
Oh
Moving
gosh!
on.
If it was a Tim Cato story that was written by you,
no,
once
I did.
again,
I did want to bring one thing up. Mark, you said that Jason confirmed it was on a dunk attempt. I just want to read this quote again because he didn't quite say that, and this is still so funny to me. Kid says, "Quote: It was on a dunk or when he fell. It was in between there somewhere." It was in between a dunk and the fall.
So he tried to dunk and then he fell, and it happened somewhere in between all of those events. Got it.
In midair between dunking and falling. That's when the
wrist was broken. Got it.
I mean, he knows what he's doing. It's just a really funny, kind of accidental, but this is just the way Jason Kidd talks. That quote is still cracking me up.
So who steps up for a potential opportunity here? We talked about the logjam in terms of guards that they have here. Obviously, Jaden Hardy in that mix. Obviously, Spencer Dinwiddie brought in as a depth piece as well. Quentin Grimes, who now has an opportunity to kind of step up and really be able to fill in that particular role? We talked about the two-way ability that Exum has, who has a chance to maybe be able to step in and have an impact on this team.
I think Grimes is the best two-way player out of that group.
Yeah.
And
the only two-way player.
Yeah.
Low-key, kind of the only two-way player, yeah.
But Grimes is just in the rotation.
I was trying to put it charitably.
Okay. Yeah. Grimes is in the rotation.
You keep it real. Don't be worried about it. We know.
I think what we can also say, though, is there was a lot of anticipation Monday night, exhibition opener, to see what Grimes and Najee Marshall, see how they looked in their unofficial Mavs debuts because it's the exhibition season. But I think those are two players who will definitely benefit hugely from the main guys being there and being able to play off of Luka, off of Kyrie. I think they will, without, in a game with no Luka, no Kyrie, no Klay, no PJ Washington, maybe they had to handle it a little bit more than you would like. Maybe they had to take more primary roles on offense than you would have wanted.
Speaking of injury, Luka Doncic, who has been dealing with a calf contusion, we are waiting a word in terms of his evaluation as they get ready for the rest of the preseason and into the regular season. What more do we know about Luka Doncic and what he has got going on now?
So no official update yet from the team. Today is the first day that we could get one because today is 1 week from when they announced that he sustained the calf contusion, when they said that he would basically be out for at least a week. He's obviously not going to play tomorrow night against Utah, but based on everything I've been told, he's in the gym twice a day. I think you guys probably saw there was a picture of him circulating on Twitter. That was from yesterday's morning practice. He was shooting free throws on a side court. Today is an off day for the Mavericks. I'm told Luka is at the facility getting work in anyway, even though it is an off day. So he's been in the gym a ton, which I think all of that reinforces what I've been saying. If this was something that the Mavericks were seriously concerned about, he would have been sent home from Vegas to basically go into full on, treatment mode, etc. Like he's been in the gym every day, and it was stressed to me again. Expect him to be there on opening night on October 24th, playing at home against the Spurs. He ain't gonna miss opening night. So do we have a firm? We don't have a firm timetable on when he will be made available for game conditions again, but like I said, he's in the gym today on an off day, so I think that's a pretty damn good sign.
I do think it would be sweet if he was available on October 17th because we are doing pre- and post-game show live on youtube.com/@DLLS_sports that day.
That was on a side court at yesterday's morning practice.
Can you get that word in for us, Mark, on our behalf? Whenever you're talking to your inside sources?
I'll work on it. Okay. I'll pitch it. I
If
don't
he
know.
could do us a solid. I mean, he already spent time with us exclusively on our YouTube channel.
Well, let's be honest.
do us one more favor.
Let's be honest. If he's gonna play one exhibition game, which you would like him to at least play once, excuse me, before the season starts, you would think that would probably be the last game. So I would think October 17th, you have a pretty decent chance if he's gonna play any exhibition games.
My gut says he'll play in that one. Just based off everything I understand about the injury and what it was and where. It just looks like he is already in his progress. My gut says he's going to be in that game.
I like your gut.
Yeah. Thank you.
There you go,
Thank
Tanner.
you.
Yes, your clip for today. Bobby likes Tim's gut. There we go. By the way, Luka Doncic is looking very much in shape. I know that's always a
PG
topic
show.
of conversation when it comes to Luka Doncic, but based off of the photos that we've been seeing, Doncic is getting very much prepared for this upcoming season. And yes, that's a nationally televised game, by the way. That Bucks game at 6:30, that game's on TNT. We'll have pre and post
LeBron
game.
might not be thrilled about flying to Milwaukee for one preseason game. I am thrilled that somehow we are getting the very newsy Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis and Dame and Doc Rivers all coming to town in the preseason. That is a very welcome bit of scheduling from my seat.
Before the show, Mark teased us a little bit, Kevin.
He did.
He said he has a surprise.
I totally oversold this thing. You guys are not going to.
Oh, no.
It's not.
No,
backing
you
off the set.
cannot kind of promise that and then under-deliver.
I'm guilty. It is. No, it's. Yeah. Surprise.
I love surprises.
Surprise was the wrong word. It's not that. Basically, I just wrote a whole on my Substack today. I just came up with a written lamentation about just like, we have been overrun with injuries already.
Yeah.
And I did find this surprising. I consulted with he's a friend of all of ours, Jeff Stotts, who curates the In-Street
Good dude.
Love
Jeff.
Jeff.
Yeah,
Good
Jeff's
dude.
fantastic. for
In-Street
sure.
Clothes. It is a tremendous database.
I watched the final seconds of Dirk's entire career in San Antonio, standing with Jeff Stotts.
And
So we're connected for life.
besides him attending games with Tim Cato, what Jeff is best known for is he keeps this just incredibly thorough, independent database of every injury, which is just tremendous service because this is a huge labor-intensive thing that he does. And because he is so thorough, I mean, we started, before training camp even started, it was, just injury, Kawhi and just again, I wrote about it today. There's just a zillion injuries for guys. Obviously, Kristaps Porzingis couldn't start the season on time. And then just since camps have begun, like Portland announces Robert Williams and Shaedon Sharpe back-to-back days. Yesterday, while we were doing the show, Toronto and Washington both announced pretty serious injuries for both RJ Barrett and Malcolm Brogdon on a trip. Both team, they went to Montreal for one game. Both teams came away from injuries. So I checked in with Jeff and I just said, am I crazy? Or like, where are you in your tracking right now? He actually let me have a sneak peek of his Excel the Excel sheet that he uses to track injuries, and he's already at more than 70 names that he's had to input.
Wow.
There have only been games and practices for a week.
Sure.
And I thought that's got to be an outrageous number, and I guess this would be the surprising part. And he said, well, actually, last preseason, there were 119 separate
Good God.
injuries
Wow.
that he documented. So,
Stop getting hurt.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
Adam Silver.
And the thing, like,
I'm gonna say, what's the solution here?
there's nothing early in the season. There's nothing you can do. I mean, it's early in, it's not like there's anything that can be done. Like, I just, sometimes you just have to just say it's really unfortunate and really sad. And it's like, this is not a way to pump people up for the season is starting. Hey, let's talk about all these injuries. I know it's not a fun topic to discuss, but it's been bugging me just seeing how many every day something else.
Yeah.
And we're just starting. Again, it's been 8 days of practices and games, not counting the 2 teams that went to Abu Dhabi. So it's just enough already. Stop.
Yeah, teams want to get their work in, but the biggest thing is they want to be healthy by
look
the
at the
time the
Mavs.
regular season starts. Is the most important
Luka
part.
And Moxie Kleba take injuries in a pickup game the day before media day. This is all fluky stuff. This is not like, everything I've heard about Moxie is like he has never been more ready to start a season and, steps on a teammate's foot inadvertently and comes away with an ankle injury. So it just...
I would say real quick, any additional progress on him as far as that injury is concerned, or it's still kind of status quo?
Yeah,
for him?
I mean, it was a decently painful ankle twist. So,
Sure.
I mean, I don't think that's something that you shake off in a couple days. So, we'll get more from Jason Kidd specifically tomorrow.
Yeah, they didn't have an official practice today, but yeah,
Right,
we'll hear tomorrow.
They were off today officially.
Make sure you dial up the Stein line on X at the Stein line. Marc Stein with his news and notes here on DLLS Mavs. Of course, the Mavericks in preseason action tomorrow night when they take on the Utah Jazz in preseason game number 2. Our entire DLLS Mavs crew will be in the house for that game. Coming up here in just a moment, our own DLLS Mavs survey curated by our own Bobby Carella. Also questions that he had for us about topics around the league and for your Dallas Mavericks. All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
But first, it's Die Hard time, baby. AllDLLS.com/diehard. That's where you can go to sign up to become a Die Hard today. And here's what you get when you do. You get access to our entire site. That's behind the paywall. That's exclusive analysis, features, columns, post-game stories that Tim and I are going to write after every
Many
single
stories
game.
that Tim Cato loves reading.
Oh, and all of
His own
Tim's
stories he
favorite
loves to
stories.
read, yes.
I
are
just
behind
don't
the paywall.
understand why I would not enjoy reading my own stories. There's
never,
a reason I wrote
I have
them.
never
That's
liked a
true,
story
yeah.
I have ever written.
Aw.
Oh, wow. You
I like
should
a lot
not
of
be
mine.
so hard on yourself, Stein. Good
I
gracious, man.
like many of the things that you've written.
Thank you.
Mark.
Same.
You
Same.
can also join the Die Hard Only Discord. You also get a free shirt when you sign up, and you get a discount on future merch. You also get a discount on future live events. You get priority access to live events. And all of that in exchange for just less than $7 a month. What a sweet dang deal. Think of all the things you waste $7 a month on. Well, hey, how about you give us some of that, and that will not go to waste. That'll make you smarter. That'll make you more
$8
interesting.
smoothie today.
That'll make you more knowledgeable. It'll make you more attractive.
Sorry, you got ripped off.
It will make you way
good
infinitely
smoothie.
cooler. Everyone you know will be prouder of you for it, and your life will be better
You're
off
going to be
for it.
walking down the street and people are going to be like, "Man, you're a diehard."
That's a Die Hard.
You're
a diehard?
I know a Die Hard when I see one.
You know how
they're,
they'll know?
they're gonna be like, "Can you invite me to the cool club you're going to tonight?"
When I
Can you-
get my
can
physical
I-
card, which I still don't have yet.
There you go.
When I get my
Can you
physical
add me as
card,
close friends on
That's it.
Instagram?
I'm going to laminate it, put it on a lanyard, and just walk around with it as a necklace.
Along
So
with your DLLS
Do
hat
that,
you
and
got
you
on.
can
There
wear
go.
you can wear a necklace right alongside the Stein line. There's no excuse. Stop waiting.
Well, it's a car. It's
Stop
going to look like
delaying.
Life Alert.
Wow, I followed it. I
It's going to
can't get
alert
up.
people that your life is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome Life Alert.
DLLS.com/diehard. Become a diehard member today. Get your physical diehard card along with Stein so you can show it off with all your friends as well. DLLS.com/diehard. As we finish up our show here today, our own DLLS Mavs survey curated by our own Bobby Carella with questions around the league and for the Mavericks and what we can anticipate this upcoming season, Mr. Bobby.
Yeah, so I sent out an alert to all of
Not a life
DLLS's
alert.
finest
Not a life alert,
employees
thank
yesterday
goodness.
saying, hey, the NBA did their own GM survey. We're trying to do a DLLS survey, right? So if you could take a few minutes
So
to fill
wait,
this
it's
out.
a GM survey for D. So only Ben took it.
Only Ben. There was only one response. No, we had
Only GM Ben.
16 brave souls
He answered all the
respond.
questions.
I said that their answers will remain anonymous. Now, based on some of these answers, I think you can draw your own conclusions as to who provided
I'm going
them.
to tell you how I voted for all
But
mine.
Tanner and I are the only ones in the company that have seen the answers, so this will be a
Ooh,
surprise
okay.
to all of you. Now we have to kind of go quickly-ish through them. We don't want to interrupt the Rangers broadcast.
We
here,
couldn't
but
get 30 respondents. We needed 30
I
respondents.
don't know if we have 30 employees.
Yes,
Good call,
Bobby. Good call.
I don't know
Don't
if we
we?
do. I don't know. I
Well,
honestly don't
we
know.
had people from DMVR popping in.
That's
and taking
true.
the
There
survey
were
too.
some. There
Anyway,
were some
let's-
people in DMVR.
Yeah,
that-
all
Let's see some
citywide
results.
should have been a
That's
I wanna see
layup.
some
the
results.
results and just
I
diminish the
blame
intelligence.
GM Ben for faulty curating.
Tim, you can't go on a non sequitur and then say, "Show me the results." Stop making side conversation.
Oh, I can.
No, you can't do that.
Oh, and I did.
I run the ship now. I'm the captain, and I've decided that we should get to the results.
now he pulled rank on the podcast. Wow.
Tanner, let's start with the which team will win the 2025 NBA Finals?
Okay.
The survey says the Boston Celtics,
Relax, John. Chill out.
37.5%. Boston's own John Anderson went in there and actually made 6 burner accounts to give the Celtics 6
Voted
votes.
100 times.
The
right?
Mavs very unbiasedly finished second place at 31.3%.
Yeah.
Who
We also
voted the
have,
Rockets?
I have no idea, but we have spare votes for the Thunder, Nuggets, Bucks, Rockets, and just the field, which I feel like is pretty lazy.
Who did vote the Rockets? I need to know this.
Candace voted for the
Candace
Rockets.
voted-
That's it.
okay,
That's
okay.
who voted for the Rockets. I bet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I voted for Boston.
I did too.
If I had to choose one team in the NBA, it would be the team that was the best team in the regular season and in the postseason last year. And so I chose Boston.
Yeah.
That does not necessarily mean if I had the option of Boston or the field that I would take Boston.
The field was not an option. Somebody cheated on that. That's
Yeah.
lazy. And
Was
I'll
that
have a
a write-in
conversation
answer?
with I'll have a conversation with them about that soon.
Oh, I thought they were anonymous.
They are. Which is the best team in the Western Conference? Officially, they're anonymous. Unofficially,
You know exactly who it is.
more unbiased opinions from the folks here at DLLS. The Mavs finished tied for first place with 37.5% of
Or
the votes,
slightly.
tied with the OKC Thunder at 37.5%, and then our frenemies at DNVR filled out some votes for the Nuggets. They claim no one respects the
Adam
Nuggets.
Madez must have voted about 5 times.
You're right.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right.
That's true. I
That-
actually should have.
Come on. I mean, going into the season, objectively, you have to say Oklahoma City is the favorite to win
Yeah.
the number 1 seed in the
I
West.
agree.
I would agree.
Come on.
I agree.
Yeah, they're a deeper team. They're set up to survive injuries. They had a lot of injury luck last season. We talked about that on one of the shows this week. But they have.
But they made the 2 clearest roster upgrades of anyone in
Yeah.
the West.
I'm
They-
still trying to
Hartenstein.
figure out how
Hartenstein is
Chicago
so
didn't
good.
fleece some kind of first round pick out of Oklahoma City in that deal.
maybe
Kevin, how do
about-
bad
about 2
teams stay
seconds?
bad?
How about
gosh.
something?
Something.
How do bad teams stay bad?
remember
I guess
when
by
this,
being a sucker, I
a
guess,
story
'cause
just
good
came
gracious.
out, and it was about the owner of the Bulls and also the White Sox, right?
Jerry Reinsdorf. Yeah.
And he had been asked, which team do you want to succeed more out of these 2 that you own? And you would expect a owner of 2 teams to not play favorites. And he just instantly was like, oh, the White Sox.
Oh, damn. Wow.
Well, they just had the worst
Okay.
season of all time. So
Yeah, so maybe he's
guess if you
trying
set
to
the
vote
bar
for, like,
low, then
put some
anyone
goodwill
can
in that
succeed.
team. Jeez.
Who will win the 2024-25 NBA MVP award?
All right.
How about Luka Doncic lapping the field with nearly 69% of the votes? A
Okay.
few of our Denver friends, shout out Jokic. 1 vote for Shea, 1 vote for Jason Tatum.
Okay. The narrative set up for Luka to win the MVP this year.
I voted Luka.
Yeah, same. I did as well.
I don't know. Once again, would I choose Luka or the field? I don't know.
The field is not an option.
No, I would
No.
choose Luka.
I would choose
No,
Luka.
but if
Yeah.
that was the question, but I think overwhelmingly Luka has the best odds, the best
Yeah.
chances to win. He has the best narrative
If
to
only
win.
I could read the comments from here. There seems to be a lot of
You can
comment
pull it up on your
activity.
laptop. That's what I'm doing.
All the comments are very complimentary of
Shout
you,
out
Stein.
to Mark's guy Charlie Saturday in the chat as well. What's up, Charlie?
Yeah, I
Good to
see
you,
Charlie,
man.
and it's funny. Charlie Saturday flew in from Milwaukee for this chat.
Ah, okay.
Oh, look at that.
He's a Bucks fan who just watches this show. I mean, the dude is he's
Jacob, by the way, I haven't forgot
he's-
about you, man. I'm going to shout you out here in a minute because you joined the Bluey Club just like I did. We'll do that in a second.
I was trying to stay in line with the NBA GM survey, but of course, one of the biggest bones we picked with the survey was that Luka finished top 3 at best player at 3 different positions.
That's right.
So the question I should have gone with is what position does Luka Doncic play? But instead, I asked who is the best
Positionless
point guard in the
basketball.
NBA, and Luka gets 75% of the votes. How about a vote for Drew Holiday in
Hey,
there?
John, tell John to relax on the Drew Holiday vote. Like, come on, dog.
Drew is not even a point guard.
Like, he's not even a point guard.
He's not a point guard.
Here?
Drew and Shea get one
an
vote
off guard.
each. Steph Curry
Yesterday, you
got
just
2
said that
votes.
Steph's not a point guard.
I don't think Steph is a point guard either.
He's a scoring guard.
Yeah, I think Steph is an off guard. But Luka with 75% of the vote, which I think is
I think
is
correct.
too low. I think that's too low.
You
Personally,
think that's too low?
One of the most confounding questions in the GM survey was who's the best international player in the NBA, because Victor Wembanyama got a vote and nobody voted for Shea, and I think no one voted for Giannis either, even though Giannis got votes for best player in the NBA. Pretty weird to me.
Okay.
That means that people think Wemby is better than Jokic and others, but who is the best international player in the NBA according to DLLS? Half the votes go to Nikola Jokic.
Oh.
A few votes go to Luka and to Giannis.
I think I voted. I already forgot what I voted. I think I voted Jokic, but I mean, it's
Survey
him
was
and
done
Doncic.
yesterday.
They're
I
right
mean, the
next to
man
each
has
other.
won 3 MVPs in the last 4 years, so I'm not going to quibble about it too much.
I'm curious to see what Tanner did with this next graphic. Which NBA player is your favorite to watch? Now, votes were divided.
Okay.
A lot of people weighed in. A lot of people sounded off. We had a vote for Boban. We had a vote for Kelly Olynyk.
Okay, I think I know who voted for Boban. That had to be Kavanaugh who voted for Boban, for sure.
We got a vote for Kyrie. Someone from DNVR voted for Jokic. Somebody voted for Ant. A couple people voted for Steph. 3 for
love
Wemby.
voting
It's just like
Kelly
anytime there's a
Olynyk,
Jokic
bruh.
vote, it's like,
Who did
well,
that?
that's those interlopers up north,
And then
up in the mountains.
By the way, I was the one who
Luka
voted.
leads,
I voted
though.
for Anthony Edwards, by the way. I did vote for Anthony Edwards.
I
Luka
voted
leads at
Wembanyama.
31.3%.
I put Wembanyama because I've watched so much basketball in my life that seeing something I've never seen before is truly like a joy. It brings me joy. I'm sure we all can relate to this
sure.
to some degree. And Wembanyama is the person who most often does stuff I have never seen in my entire life on a basketball court.
Last year against the San Antonio Spurs, Victor Wembanyama took a fast break by himself, went coast to coast, around the back, around the world, and put it on somebody's head.
Yeah.
I had never seen somebody with that size and that kind of skill do anything like that on the court before. So to your point, Victor Wembanyama is a one of one. But for me, Anthony Edwards' dunk over John Collins last year, I will randomly just sit at my house and go find that highlight just to laugh at John Collins, because that dunk is still one of the best dunks I've ever seen in game.
I don't know, that
ever.
led to a lot of injuries, too.
Headline.
Speaking of injuries, exactly.
Ray lobbies for move to Minneapolis.
Oh, wow.
What?
Wow.
No,
Where do your loyalties lie, KG?
he just
Anthony
enjoys
Edwards is
another
the
player.
most exciting player in the league
I'm on
today.
Kevin's side
You don't
here.
ever pull up Mavs highlights? You just pull up Wolves highlights?
I mean, that
Yeah,
Anthony
he
Edwards
pulls up.
highlights, the
He pulls up
dopest
games.
highlights I've ever
He
seen.
pulls up games 1, 2, and 5.
I mean, I will pull
conference
up the
finals
Luka,
last
you know, dusting off. Go
By the way, I love
the
that
shadow
Steph
realm,
was
yeah.
on the list. Steph is my other favorite player, non-Maverick, to watch. Like, he is genuinely, as somebody else, are you going to see something you've never seen before on a basketball court? He is somebody who
Steph's
does that.
a good candidate.
Yeah, yeah.
I have
love
to say,
Steph.
because I benefited from this as much as anybody not employed by the Warriors could. Like this is my 32nd season. In all that time, I mean, Steph's pregame warmups are the closest thing to batting practice, to people who want to go early to watch their favorite slugger go yard 15 times. And that, you see it at the AAC. People show up earlier for a Mavs game when the Warriors are in town
Yes.
than for any other. It is crazy how packed out the AAC gets when the Warriors are
At
here.
the
How
peak.
how early? Even now. I think even now.
But at the peak of Mavs of Steph's popularity, arenas, I'm 99% sure I'm remembering this right. They would open the doors 30 minutes sooner
Yeah.
than usual, because that's how many people were coming in early just to watch these.
I mean, the
warm-ups.
lower bowl was packed.
Yeah,
for those
yeah.
games.
I remember I wrote about this once too, and it was like there was a, almost a spiritual feeling of what he was doing.
Maybe the coolest thing that I ever got to do was, and the Warriors, Raymond Ritter, maybe the greatest ever to do that job in terms of team PR, and he helped facilitate this. And you have to remember, I grew up in Western New York till I was about 10. So like the Yankees were my first favorite team. We got all the Yankee games in Western New York. He arranged Reggie Jackson to come to a Stephen Curry warm-up and live narrate it with me on ESPN. So like little Marc Stein was just melting down that Mr. October is going to sit here with me on TV and analyze Steph Curry's pregame warm-up through the lens of one of the greatest batting practice legends of all time. And
That's
so
incredible.
that was just, I mean,
That's really cool.
It was
That's
so
incredible.
off the charts amazing. And I bring that up. I'm going to save it for tomorrow because we're out of time now. But the next time we have time, we have to have a very serious October discussion.
We do have one last question before we get to that one, though. I voted for Kyrie. I just love watching Kyrie. What can I
that's a
say?
good answer.
I'm a
That's a
sucker
good
for
answer.
good.
That's a good
ball handling. The last question is, which NBA player would you want taking a shot? Now, before we show it, Tanner, before we show it, like I said, these answers are and will remain anonymous. But folks, I challenge you, watching at home or listening on your podcast feed later in the day, to identify the DLLS or ALLCITY employee that gave their vote to this man. Which NBA player would you want taking a shot with the game on the line? Luka wins the voting at 37.5%. Then Steph, we have votes for Jokic and Kyrie, Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart, and then Tim Cato.
What?
That I did not vote for myself. I would not. I voted for Luka.
Ben, did you vote for Tim Cato? Oh my, really? Oh, this is too much.
He's here.
This is too much.
He's here.
You've already given him the Sports Personality of the Day award. Now you're gonna gas him up by voting him to take a last-second shot to win a game.
Has anyone ever seen
what is
Tim Cato
happening
shoot
here?
a basketball?
I've seen Tim Cato shoot. Tim, your mechanics are all right.
Yeah, they're okay.
It has to be better than
Yeah.
what Chet Holmgren was doing the other day.
Now,
That's for
would
damn
I
sure.
rather Tim shoot
Jeez.
to save humanity than someone
Hell
like
no.
Luka or Steph
No.
or anyone
No.
else alive?
Honestly,
I
absolutely
like you,
not.
Tim, but damn it, you're not taking any of my game.
You know
winning shots
the
from me.
worst
No.
vote on this
No.
entire list. Marcus Smart is worse than Tim Cato.
I know, I thought that was a great one. I also like the vote for Luka, Steph, Jimmy Butler, or maybe Andre Iguodala.
Does Max
Give
Kellerman
me
work here?
Iguodala.
Like, what happened? Is Max Kellerman working here?
Yeah, why?
Good gracious.
Why?
Andre Iguodala.
That's
Andre
probably-
Iguodala.
that's probably a John Anderson
I
special.
love and think about Andre Iguodala on a weekly basis.
No, you don't.
But
Quit
I would
lying.
never-
on a weekly
Quit
basis.
lying.
But I would never look at that question. He's one of the last names who would ever come to mind. But yeah, when it comes to the last shot, you want to be able to take every single type of shot. Luka is more proficient at more types of shot
Not Timothy Cato. Get out of here.
Timothy Cato. Oh no, I get that one a lot.
Timothy Cato.
He's more proficient at
Get
every type of
get
shot
outta
than
here.
Jokic.
Yeah,
because
delete that. Somebody delete. Can you delete comments out
We
of that
can't
thing?
because Ben wrote it, so we can't delete it. It's his comment.
I'm him.
By the way, shout out to you, Bobby. Appreciate you putting that together for us.
Oh,
Fantastic.
absolutely. And thanks to Tanner for cranking out the graphics, and to all
GM
of,
Ben,
to
that's
all of
you?
our coworkers and
changed your
colleagues
tag?
around the
That's
nation for providing their insights. That's insight you can only get here at ALLCITY, folks.
Before we get out of here, I got to shout out my guy, Jacob, because I told him I would do that. I'm officially a Bluey influencer here on DLLS Mavs. Jacob, as you can see, or as you're listening to the podcast, went out and got himself a Bluey shirt. So he is now a part of the Bluey fan club here
Nicely
on
done.
DLLS Mavs. Just a rad uncle. Shout out to you, Jacob.
Nicely done.
By the way, I found that out by looking at the member-only Discord. So you become a diehard member. You can join our member-only Discord.
Stay up to date with all the latest fashion trends.
That's right. That's right.
One last word before we go. You know, I told you guys I wrote a huge thing about injuries today. The Grizzlies today announced that John Morant from that Dallas game has picked up, they're diagnosing it, they're calling it a mid-ankle sprain. So the
Oh,
Grizzlies
jeez.
say he will be fine for opening night. That's what Taylor Jenkins told the media in Memphis today. But mid-ankle sprain, not something you want to hear. So again, enough already with the injuries.
Turn them off. Switch them
yes.
off.
Why isn't
Turn
this
off the
2K
injuries.
and you could just hit the button?
Why don't they like his ankle? Why are they calling it mid? Yeah.
That'll do it for us today here on Tanner's like, get us out of here. DLLS Mavs. We'll be back tomorrow here at 12 p.m. It's a game day for your Dallas Mavericks. We are hoping to see the debuts of Klay Thompson at the American Airlines Center when the Mavericks take on the Utah
I'll be at the
Jazz.
arena at Jazz Shoot-Around. Cato drove me away from the studio after today's performance.
So we'll be talking to Marc Stein
see
live
you
from
at
the
the arena.
American Airlines Center tomorrow at 12 p.m. here on DLLS Mavs. For Marc Stein, Bobby Carrillo, Tim Cato, my name is Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 12 p.m. right here on DLLS Sports. Y'all be good. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.